Alrighty, so I'm on the way to work, and I've been talking with a friend. Well, I ranted to him. He asked me a couple simple questions or whatever, but I was talking to a friend about back in the day, because I had found recently a tape that he gave me. In high school, we made music together. Well, not together. We were like separate entities essentially, but we'd show up to school every single day with a tape in hand or mini disc or whatever. We were like, listen to what we did yesterday, which I thought was super fucking cool, because up until that point, the only other music people I knew were fucking band geeks, and I was not in that sort of scene. Well, I found his tape the other day, and he was like, I messaged him yesterday. I was like, dude, I have this thing. This thing is like half our life ago. What I can do is make it, digital version of it and send it to you if you want it. I don't know if you have your stuff, your old school music or whatever. He's like, actually, me and Dan lost like everything. Send it to me. I was like, fuck yeah. And that got me thinking. He's like, and I had talked to him. I was like, you're the first person that like turned me on to this sort of music and stuff. And he's like, he asked me if I had listened to, another guy that. And I was like, my first thought was no, because there was nobody else in the fucking school that listened to anything even remotely close to that. And the world never fucking listened to that sort of thing unless they were like older crowd that was like a raver or some shit, It's like, it's nobody. And I immediately pointed out the fact that I was like, okay, there was me, you, and Lauren. We sat like in the corner of the lunchroom. There was a couple of the guys, Dan and Justin, that sat with us, who were also very fucking cool. There was a black chick, I can't remember her name, I feel really bad. And another girl who liked, the two of them really liked a band called Kill Hannah, and I hated them in high school. And years later, man, accidental concert was in Wheaton, Illinois, at the Wheaton Grand Theater, and I loved their fucking music. They were awesome. Because they had upped their game, their style had changed, everything was like a total game changer, and I was like loving that. And so I'm like, okay, so it was all of us. There was a couple other artsy kids on the far end of the table, and then everybody else in that fucking lunchroom was just like rich kids and nobodies, and then like nobodies, and then the nerdy kids. You have that table, and then all the black kids in the middle of the lunchroom that fucking fought every other day. It was like bullshit. I don't even know what the fuck was going on with them. But there was so much anger and rage in that fucking table that they fought each other all day long. And I realized at that precise moment in time, as I'm like telling them about all this stuff again, like reminiscing and shit, that I sat with the cool kids. I was not necessarily one of the cool kids, but I sat with the cool kids. And I was like, motherfucker. I got lucky in school for just that last year of my high school, my senior year. I sat with the fucking badass kids. The artsy ones, the ones who listen to really good fucking music, all that shit. And I'm pretty satisfied with that. So that's today's ranty vlog thing. I was with the cool kids. And now I've looked back, I look at my whole life now, and I'm like, when I was in high school, I looked at that, and then I was like, I was definitely not the cool kid. When I went back to like relive childhood fun for a while, I became that cool guy that I just wanted to be that dude, and I found a way to make it happen. I don't think kids have this mentality where they can like make themselves be that unless they have certain things. And people always say be yourself, but they need to be reminded that they have the ability to change the way they see themselves and push forward in a way that they want to. And I think a lot more adults need to stand in and talk to kids and say, what do you need to change the image that you don't like about who you are and what's going on with you in order to make things happen right? And if it's material possession, sometimes that's not necessarily the case that people should be focused on at that age, but sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not achievable because it's material possessions and they're expensive and stuff. But then if it's just a mentality, if it's just a thought that I'm not one of the cool kids, and I was not one of the cool kids. I was not. I sat with them in school. I got lucky to sit with those kids because they were awesome. But the game changer is when I got older, and it was like 10 years later even, where I finally decided I'm going to be that guy that I see in my head. And everyone has that there, but kids need to have the ability and chance to change that shit, because we should all be the person we see in our head. And I'm living that guy every single day right now, all the time. This is especially true when I pick up a fucking camera, because I don't know, I'm not wise master Tommy or whatever, but like, I've lived life and I've done things. But I'm living that guy right now, all the time. I sat with the cool kids. I really was one, but it was in my fucking head. It just didn't come out until like years later. I wish that I could be like the cool kids, because the cool kids, they seem to fit in. You know what? I knew everybody in school. I talked to everybody in school. I didn't necessarily like everybody in school, but I was definitely a cool kid. And it's taken me years to fucking come out and say that shit. You guys have a fantastic day. That's my fucking rant. I'm sorry, I exaggerated and made it long. Goodbye.